This is The Day the Mountain Moved, a bedtime story created by Gemini. Mount Craig was a very proud mountain. He considered himself quite handsome, with his rugged peaks and verdant slopes. But what set Craig apart was that he genuinely believed he was a person. A very large, very still person, but a person nonetheless. He'd watched the little figures, the people as he called them, scurrying about his base, building their tiny houses and making their tiny noises, and he longed to join them. "If only I could walk," he'd grumbled to the wind, which of course just rustled his pine trees in response. He imagined having conversations, sharing jokes, maybe even playing a game of... well, he wasn't sure what games people played, but he was sure he'd enjoy them. One sunny afternoon, a young girl named Alara, with hair like spun gold and eyes like the summer sky, came to Craig's base. She was sketching in a little notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. Craig, who had been watching her for weeks, decided today was the day he would finally make contact. He focused all his might, the very essence of his mountainness, and shifted just a little. He wanted to lean down just a bit so he could get a better look at her drawing and maybe, just maybe, say hello. Unfortunately, Craig's understanding of physics was, shall we say, limited. His little shift caused a small avalanche. A cascade of rocks and earth rumbled down his slope directly towards Alara. Craig, horrified, tried to stop it. He pushed with all his might, but it was too late. The rocks tumbled past him, and a cloud of dust billowed up, obscuring Alara. When the dust settled, Craig saw her. She was lying still, her sketchbook askew. Craig's heart, or what he imagined was his heart, ached. He hadn't meant to hurt her. He'd only wanted to be her friend. A small sob escaped him, a sound like the wind whistling through a narrow crevice. He had tried so hard to be a person, and in doing so, he had done the very opposite of what a good person would do. Just then, a small brown squirrel, who had witnessed the whole thing, scurried down from a nearby tree. He chattered nervously at Alara, then turned to Craig.
"She's all right,"
the squirrel squeaked.
"Just a bit shaken. But you shouldn't do that again."
Craig felt a pang of shame. He was a mountain, not a person. He couldn't interact with the world like they did. His attempts at friendship had ended in disaster. Alara slowly sat up, rubbing her head. She looked at the avalanche, then up at Craig. She didn't seem angry, just sad. "It's okay," she said softly, though her voice trembled. "I know you didn't mean to." Craig was surprised. She knew? How? Alara picked up her sketchbook, which miraculously had survived the tumble. She showed Craig the drawing. It was a picture of him. Not just a mountain, but a face. A kind face, with gentle eyes. "I was trying to capture your spirit," she explained. "I felt something from you." Craig was touched. He might not be a person, but Alara had seen something good in him. He couldn't be her friend in the way he had imagined, but perhaps, just perhaps, he could be a silent guardian, a watchful presence, a mountain who cared. From that day on, Craig still longed for connection, but he understood his place. He was a mountain, and that was enough. He watched over Alara and all the other little people, not trying to be one of them, but simply being himself. And sometimes, when the wind whispered through his pines, he imagined he heard Olara's soft voice thanking him, and that was a kind of friendship all its own. The end.